Now, her death could lead to criminal charges. It alleges her boyfriend, Nick Gordon, who she at times referred to as her husband, could be the first person of interest. There were bruises on her body when she was found in that bathtub, and a lawsuit filed against Gordon alleges he had taken thousands of dollars without permission. A portion has reportedly been taken after she had been hospitalized. We understand as much as $11,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And we'll all remember that Whitney Huston brought Gordon into the family and raised them sort of as brother and sister for many, many years.
And then they start dating.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Chris.
Okay.
Well, you know, January 31st was the day that Bobbi Christina was pulled from the bathtub.
It's been that long, 6 months.
Yeah.
All this time, she was in a medically induced coma. Joining us now on the phone, Dr. Mandira Mehra is one of the best neurologists in the country. She just happens to work at Thomas Jefferson Hospital. We caught her on taking a little time off. She's down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Doctor, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Mike. Hi,
Hey.
Mike. Great to be with you this morning.
Good morning.
You know, let's go back to January 31st when she was in the tub, maybe 3 or 4 minutes under the water. Did she ever have a chance, Doctor?
Sure. So I think, you know, the exact cause of what happened is still a little murky, but a lot of speculation and reports have said that somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes, she probably suffered some form of anoxic brain injury, which is a fancy way of saying her brain was deprived of oxygen. Unfortunately, all the cells in our body need that, you know, great oxygen to keep us alive, but the brain cells especially, after a minute or two, suffer that irreversible damage.
Goodness.
So every minute, every second that goes by, you know, that her brain wasn't getting that oxygen, unfortunately makes the prognosis worse.
Now, during the time, I mean, it was nearly 6 months when she was in a coma, and there were some reports at one point that they thought, oh, she's getting better, she's getting better. When you're in a coma, medically induced coma, are there just kind of some irreversible effects where even if she were to come out of it, it still wouldn't be the same?
Right. I mean, that's a great question. So there's two things, you know, that we have to keep in mind here. One is the underlying cause of the brain injury that she unfortunately suffered, and the second is the medically induced coma itself. So the medically induced coma is actually really safe, and it's drugs that, you know, if you go in or if I go in for a procedure, for a medical procedure, you're given an anesthetic, let's say propofol or something like that. So that's reversible. You know, once you take away that sedative, given an amount of time, you know, people can wake up and function again. The problem in this situation isn't so much the medically induced coma, which is reversible. It would be more or less the underlying cause, like we said.
Let me say this delicately. How did she live so long?
Well, this is the marvels of modern medicine. We can keep people sort of breathing on a ventilator. We can keep them on life support. You can keep feeding them too. In that medically induced state or in that coma state that doctors keep you in, we really try to keep you in that state for the least amount of time as possible.
Yeah.
So after a day, after 2 days, you lessen the sedation and you try to say, squeeze my finger, show me a thumb, blink your eyes. You try to test for any sort of underlying brain activity. If the patient then is seizing, having a stroke, or brain is swelling, you kind of put them back in that state to do two things.
They're doing an autopsy, Doctor. They're doing an autopsy down in Atlanta today. Just real quickly here. Let's say if she got hit in the head or whatever happened to her, she hit her head on the tub. Can they still find that out all these months later?
You know, there's some things that would be very obvious. So, for example, even pre-autopsy, if you took a brain scan and you saw that there was kind of diffuse injury throughout, something that would be very similar to being deprived of oxygen, you could say, well, that would be very hard to get by just being hit on the head, versus during an autopsy, if you find a huge collection of blood somewhere, which, again, probably would have been seen on a scan, you could say, well, that was just, you know, significant brain trauma versus being deprived of oxygen.
And at this point, drugs and all that. Doctor, great job. Next time, come into the studio, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, 8:10. Joe Jackson reportedly suffered a stroke.
The father of the